Hi, I'm Nikki from Tyrion's Landing, a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the one you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I am the chief editor tonight. I am SP, and we have a couple of other reporters for you this episode, number 174 of the Starling Tribune. And the first one is Chris.
Thank God we saved the internet. My fantasy football team was killing it this year.
All right, Wild Dog, stand down, man. Your fantasy football team is safe. And Michelle.
I am a hacktivist, not a monster. This is why I'm not a professional actor, because kudos to Casey. Casey role played Elena. I am a hacktivist, not a monster. She said it with a straight face.
She did indeed. Okay, this podcast is recorded on Sunday, November 5th, 2017, live on Geeks.live. Remember, our audio newspaper is full of spoilers, speculations, and facts about Arrow, and while we're at it, the rest of the DC TV, movie, and comic universes.
That's right, and tonight we'll be discussing Arrow, as well as news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the last week that could and very well will impact future episodes of Arrow, as well as The Flash, Supergirl, Legends Tomorrow, Vixen, Constantine, possibly Black Lightning, and if we get crazy, we'll even start talking about things like Teen Titans Go, Justice League, Young Justice, all sorts of stuff like that, because we're crazy in here.
Crazy!
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can also find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
All right, after that fun intro, we're just going to break the episode down, and this one was a fun one, wasn't it, Michelle?
Yes, this episode is called Reversal. It's season 6, episode 4. It aired Thursday, November 2nd, 2017. Directed by Gregory Smith. It's done 1 Flash, 4 Legends, and 6 Arrow. And the writers, there are 2 who came up with that I am a hacktivist, not a monster line. Sarah Tarkoff, who's done 7 Arrow and Vixen the movie, and Emilio Ortega Aldrich, who's done 10 episodes of Arrow.
Yeah.
I wonder which one of them came up with it.
You can go ahead and you could go ahead and tweet them. There's the Arrow Writers Room Twitter account. You could go ahead and ask. I would. So either you are going to or I'm going to. Who's going to be? We got to make up this decision right now live on the podcast.
1, 2, 3, not it.
I'll do it.
Okay, Michelle's it. So we'll get back to you next week if we have an answer to that. In the meantime, let's go over the ratings for the last week of the DC TV shows. And yeah, they're not stellar because on Monday, the 30th of October, Supergirl came in with a live rating of the episode The Faithful of 1.82. That could have been due to a couple of things, namely the World Series Game 6 and Monday Night Football. On Tuesday, October 31st, 2017. How is that date? Why is that date so... Oh, yes, it was Halloween. So a lot of people were out trick-or-treating. And The Flash, with their episode Elongated Journey into the Night, got a live rating of 1.99. I think this might be the first episode of The Flash that's rated under 2. I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure. Following The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, with the episode, which was a fun one, by the way, Phone Home, had a live rating of 1.38. Thursday, on the 2nd of November, Arrow So we're done with the World Series. Game 7 was the night before. We're done with Halloween. That was Tuesday night. So you think they would have a great rating for the episode Reversal, right, Chris?
Yeah, one would think. I mean, there's nothing else going on.
Yeah. Michelle, do you think they busted even the Flash at 1.99 this week?
No one's going to bust the Flash.
Well, I don't know. Halloween night, 1.99. I mean, that's under 2. That's pretty bad for the Flash. Well, anyway, Arrow did not. And I believe this is another series low for Arrow at 1.33 million. I think the previous low was 1.34. I'll have to go back and check, but it's pretty close at 1.33. So a little bit disappointed, but we were talking about it before the show, right, weren't we, Chris? The fact that the CW Seed or the CW app or the cable apps letting you stream the shows the next day, they might be eating into these ratings a lot. These ratings could be a lot higher than they are, right?
That's been my theory, especially for these CW shows. Because remember, the app they made a big push with. Huge push. Like, hey, come get our app. You can watch all the stuff on there. And it's ad supported, so they're making some coin off of that. I mean, but if you're looking at sub 2 ratings all the time,
But I have to go back to the fact that we said, Arrow, their ratings are so low and we don't think it's going to get renewed for a 7th season. We don't know what those numbers are for the stream. We don't know how much money they're making off for the stream. So it might very well actually be in a great position. I'll give you an example. So my girls, both of them are here and they got a hold of the new show. It's not new. It's a year old, Riverdale. And they're like, can you make sure you put the app on our Roku or our Xbox so we can make sure we see Riverdale? Yeah, okay, you already got it. It's the cable app or it's CWC. You're good to go. And they're like, oh, that's great. So they're off, mainlining Riverdale. The same thing is probably happening with Supergirl, Flash, and Legends and Arrow. So I have no doubt that this next generation of people are really changing the way that a TV network really values success and monetary success on their programs. And I think CW's way out ahead of it by giving away these shows for free for 5 weeks, right? So for 5 episodes, it's all free, but then you get to the 6th and that first one goes off the air. So they do still have a little bit of gatekeeping to it, but it's good gatekeeping. And I can't wait because somebody's going to push at some point in time in the industry, say, hey, how much are you actually getting? CBS isn't going to give it for Star Trek. CW might give it for one of their shows. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, enough ratings talk. I've gone on long enough. Let's get into the main plot of the episode. Michelle, what are we talking about?
Well, the episode's title is Reversal. And this is one of the episodes where they said the thing. Felicity is basically in charge. She's the one saving the day. And Oliver's got to sit at home. He's got to do his mayor thing, his dad thing, the boyfriend thing. And, he does get in a little bit on the action, but really he's just, he's taking himself out of it. And there we are.
So who do we officially call Overwatch? Who's sitting in the seat, or is that specifically Felicity?
I would say it's still Felicity. I mean, Chris, what do you think?
Well, she needs to have a code name if she's going to be out in the world, so it makes sense to continue to use the one she has. But at the same time, I kind of like the thought of whoever's the guy in the chair, to steal a phrase from Spider-Man Homecoming, is Overwatch. Or maybe they need to come up with some other code name for someone when it's not Felicity, being, quote, the guy in the chair.
That was a great Spider-Man Homecoming moment. What are you doing? Looking at porn. Spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but that was an awesome chair moment. Absolutely.
Sorry, I got distracted. I was looking at porn. I mean, what?
So we basically, understand the basic theme of the episode, which is reversal. And even though Oliver was sidelined, we still had some fights. So why don't you lead us on the fights, Chris?
I thought the first fight was pretty boring. This is the parking garage fight that was maybe 20 seconds of fighting, when lots of dark shades so that you couldn't see people's faces. which seemed to be kind of a trend with this week's fighting, actually, now that I think about it. But in this one, it's Black Siren versus Black Canary, which part of me is going, yes, this is going to be awesome, because I want to see the two canaries fight each other. Yeah, it's kind of I'm going to scream at you, you're going to get hurt, then you're going to fling a motorcycle at me with your scream, and I'm going to run away.
I had the opinion that was the aero bike. I think the aero bike got flung across the garage there.
They got spares. They'll be fine.
Indeed. You mentioned something about the fighting being black in tone, and that's something I actually wanted to discuss on the podcast tonight, because I actually took a hard look at the fighting tonight. Now, they had that great panning moment in a lot of the fights where they were panning the camera back and forth with the action, giving actors in one area of the set a rest, and then you pan over and then boom, you've got something going on. But specifically, we haven't talked about it yet, but in the Helix fight, there was a lot of just black shapes in the shape of a person that went over the entire screen to be a person's screen wipe to reset the scene. So while that isn't a perfect one-shot scene, at least it gave the perception that this was shot in one shot, and it gave a continuity to the fight. So while I recognize that the fight is actually broken up by those black people that are coming across the screen, it still looks a lot better than the fights that we had with the still camera the last couple of years.
Yeah, I like that. It's just, it seemed like these fights in general were a lot darker than the normal darker fights we got here, so you didn't have to worry about hiding stuntmen's faces easily. Maybe I'm being overly critical this time, though.
No, I think it's absolutely our job to be critical over the fights, because this is one of the key things that we need to have happen for this show to continue, is have strong street level fighting. So I do like the critique on the fights.
It's not a bad thing in my mind. It just takes me out of it a little bit, because you don't see the faces of the people fighting as easily. I mean, and that's the nature of stunt fights. You're not going to see faces all the time. But sometimes it's a bit more creative shots than let's make everything really dark this week.
Well, and also a lot of people were just wearing black. The henchman wore black. Black Siren wears black. Black Canary wears black. Vernay is now in that black suit. The Diggle's arrow is dark green. It's still green. You can still see the green. Mr. Terrific, he just has those white stripes on his jacket. Like, that's basically, that's how I spot him. It's like, oh, there's the jacket.
Yeah, no one really pops anymore on screen, which is arguably a good thing if you're a bunch of vigilantes fighting at night.
Overwatch popped. She was in that red dress for the first half of the episode.
But she wasn't fighting.
Yes.
Which is disappointing.
And to be fair, Diggle no longer pops on screen because he's not wearing a helmet that illuminates his face. Which is great for the secret identity.
I miss that. I kind of miss that.
But he used the arrow gun. He used the arrow gun out and about this week. Matter of fact, he used it against the Black Siren, which the arrow... We need a Black Siren-proof arrow, because she's just going to destroy him from now on.
I just like that. Something's different. Oh, you have a crossbow. And I was like, that's not what I was expecting. Well played.
Yeah.
I'd say I can't put my finger on it, kind of alluding to the fact that she knows that he's got tremors in his hands.
Maybe. And was it just me? I know we're skipping ahead a little bit. Did it look like the bow was shaking left or right a little bit as he fired the shot? Or was that just me?
He probably was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't take a close
I don't know
look
if it was
at
intentional or if it's just that's how the shot turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really wasn't many arrows seen besides that one.
Yeah.
Works out well for a show called Arrow.
Well, I completely got us off track here. We had the parking garage with the bike that was thrown, but then there was a fight, Chris, in the hacker bar.
Yes, there was a fight in the hacker bar as well. And this one's when Felicity and Alina kind of go in there. They're trying to get the answers to everything. And then a dude in a mask, not the guy in the chair, comes in and just wrecks face on all of the bodyguards that look like they were about to cause trouble for Felicity and her hacktivist buddy. And mask comes off and we're revealed none other than one Oliver Queen. He's back sort of temporarily-ish.
I saw that mask in the bar and I thought, okay, somebody's going to drop some sort of smoke grenade or, poisonous gas or something. Nobody goes to a bar with one of those. I guess maybe if you're in the Tron universe and you happen to be the DJs, maybe, but they got their own facial mask. But that was a little bit. Can you imagine how hot that would get?
Oh,
That
yeah.
be in a bar. Oh my God. And then you can't drink anything either because there's no way to drink anything unless you got that little connection into the mask.
You just need to have an emergency induction port like Tally does in Mass Effect, and you're good to go.
Nice pull. Nice pull. Yeah. Oliver going in, being like, I gotta save you. And I like Felicity's like, you ruined everything and you're not supposed to be here and I can do this. And he's
You
got to get
ruined
used
it.
to the fact that you ruined it. He's got to get used to the fact that he took himself out of it. And he needs to trust the team and not go in there and ruin everything.
Old habits die hard, though. That's the problem.
In his defense, she did say that she was going to call the team and tell the team where she was going. She did not. He couldn't call her out on it up in the loft. And because she said she was going to do it and he trusted her at that point in time, but she never called the team.
How do we know that? How do we know that?
Because it was never talked about. She never brought it up. I think she did not call the team on the way over. If she called the team, I bet you Oliver would have peeled off.
But that's the point. She would have called the team. Oliver's not in the team anymore. So she would have called like Diggle or something. And then Oliver is out of it.
I get the feeling she wasn't exactly thinking the plan through as much as, oh, we screwed up last year. We need to fix this. And it was more of, let's go and take care of this. And I don't know how well thought out it was.
If she would have called the team, somebody would have shown up to be her backup, and then Oliver would have peeled off.
But she wasn't in trouble. They took her to the guy, and then she was going to get start negotiating and doing like hacker talk to hacker talk, but she never got the chance because he storms in and just starts beating people up.
Yeah. And if there was backup, maybe the team backup would have come in at that moment or not. It's hard to tell. But the fact is there was no team backup at that point in time.
Well, you don't know that.
Yeah, there was nobody because they were all busy doing something else because she did not tell them what she was up to at that point.
Why does it matter? She tells them what she's doing, and then she tells them, I got this. You go do that. I will do this.
And then she doesn't follow through. He's just making sure.
We don't know because Oliver comes in and interrupts everything. She looks at him and says, I had a plan. You basically almost messed this up for me.
See, I don't think she had everything under control. Yes, Oliver messed everything up, but I think she was on the verge of getting caught anyway because it was the whole, you guys look like federal agents. Yeah, they did.
See, that's just it. I'm going to give Felicity more credit than you are.
Okay, I'm not, in that particular situation, I'm not. I think she was totally in trouble at that point in time. I think whether Oliver came in at that exact moment or a minute later, it would have been the same result ultimately.
I disagree.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
Moving on. Chris, what's the next fight?
Next fight's at the old Helix facility. We've got the Felicity et al. Go there to try and figure out what's going on. They can make use of the wiring because that's somehow some kind of digital fingerprint of something or other. I lost track on there. When they use technobabble on this show, it doesn't always make sense and my eyes glaze over. But if we get some more black siren screams, that's one of the most consistent things this week.
Yes, we get a lot of those.
Then we have James comes in. He pretty much orders a humane death for Felicity and Alina. And that's when our heroes come in and save the day. Wild Dog with his guns, of course. And I think he had a rifle at one point in time, too, or that might have been the next fight. Diggle, of course, throwing punches, not shooting arrows. And then some more canary cries and T-spheres. Fun times.
Yeah, there's a lot of punching and stuff going on. That was like basically this week. A lot of punching, a lot of cries.
And one arrow.
Yeah.
That disappeared.
Well, he does. Yeah. I mean, he is like shooting them off and everything. But I noticed that it, like when Oliver, did his bow and arrow, like the camera would follow and it would make a big deal of the really cool hits that he would make. But with Diggle, it's been like pew, 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 pew.
With Diggle, it's more, I've got to shoot some arrows, so it looks like the Green Arrow of old is still here shooting arrows and leaving evidence behind. It's more of leaving some evidence behind that there was a Green Arrow there versus actually being as effective with those arrows. Because even with his crossbow, gun, cannon, whatever, I don't think he's quite as accurate as Oliver was with the bow.
So if I'm the FBI agent and I'm investigating who is the Green Arrow, and I've got this entirety of the board with the individuals on there, I'm going to have my eye on these individuals, which are Diggle and Felicity and everybody else on the team. So the fact that they're able to get away with all of this episode, that's broaching the unbelievable wall for me. I'm pretty sure that the FBI has these guys under some sort of surveillance, that they're able to tell whether or not they're around their homes. And then if they're not, well, where are they? So I'm a bit, I don't know, guys. I think the FBI would have actually come in this episode and caught everybody at one point in time.
We're assuming that Agent Watson is part of a team. It could still be a preliminary investigation because the FBI could be, hey, there's proof that that photo was doctored and we don't have the time or the resources or the money to do a full-fledged investigation, but you can start, doing something preliminary. This is the only way I can write this off because you do have a point. So
yeah, so if Agent Watson is any good at all, and she really believes that this is Team Arrow, she would have been following at least one of them or trying to make connection with at least one of them during the night. And they're all involved in this. Not one of them, not even Oliver, is not involved. So that is where I have a hard time believing that this episode is able to be pulled off without any FBI involvement.
So,
that's it. That's all. I mean, I have to take it on face value at this point and just leave it. But I think it's a little bit of a plot issue.
So I'm no trained investigator or anything like that, but I imagine that if you're trying to investigate someone and what they've been doing, if you're not going to keep a track of everyone, you're at least going to keep an eye on your subject and their significant other. In this case, Felicity, you would assume they'd be watching because she interacts with Oliver in some way, shape, or form most all the time. So maybe they took a night off. I don't know. Maybe they're relying on digital means, and we'll find out later that Overwatch has basically set it up so that they fool the cameras into making it look like they've never left their apartments at night or something like that. I don't know. I would assume there's going to be some kind of explanation that comes into play at some point. Or
this is another thing that I have an issue with. You said digital means. If that's the case, they would have had some insight into their cell phones, even if it's just pinging their cell phones. Now, Felicity might have set up some sort of obscuration code and say the phones are where they're not supposed to, or where they're not actually. So yeah, okay. I guess that's the only saving grace in my mind is what you just said about Felicity.
They got to go digital, man. Budget cuts.
Yep. Okay.
Speaking of digital, we have our last big fight, the time to save the internet, which I did not know that the entire internet is housed at Star City. So that's something else that the city is known for now, the home of the internet.
We're not supposed to know where it is.
Now we do.
It's your basement. You have a basement underneath the basement you're podcasting in right now?
That's why my internet's so fast. Because I don't have to make the bits go far in the internet pipe.
Oh, hey, that is one thing about this set. It wasn't a bunch of, tubes and stuff. It was actual things.
Yeah, it actually looked
stuff.
like server racks. Yeah.
That they were shooting with no adverse performance to the internet.
It's like, some bullets have got to knock some of this stuff out. So some of those server racks, by the way, were just lights. But yeah, it was at least set up like server racks. So that's good in a cold rack area, because even if you use the newer drives and the solid state drives, there's a lot of heat that goes with that. So yeah, server rooms get hot.
Yeah,
and
I didn't see quite the right ventilation and cooling that you would need for a server room in this set. But again, I'm being overly critical because I have to deal with IT stuff on my real life on a regular basis. So it looked cool on TV.
Right. So yeah, talking about the internet and looking cool and everything. I'm going to admit it straight up here. Michelle was right about Michael Emerson, aka Harold Finch, to me from Person of Interest. And I think they might have just taken those old sets from Person of Interest and just crammed them into here, because it was exactly a server farm where I would have seen in Person of Interest.
Yeah. So it's nice to know that they have a Delta formation, the team does and such. So
did you happen to look at Delta formation and figure out what exactly Delta formation was, by the way?
They're all together, and it seems like Diggle kind of leads, but they're still like in a line or something.
No, they're in a V, so it's like the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
The ducks fly together, sort of thing. So you got Diggle out in the front with the V, and then you got them winging out in two pairs, two wingmen, the lead and number 2 and 3 and 4, and number 1 and number 2 look one way. In this particular case, I think it's right, and 3 and 4 were looking left. So that is Delta formation for this particular show. We'll see if that actually holds up for the next time that they use, if there's a next time that they use the Delta formation.
Next is Echo formation.
I'm sure it will be.
It's be interesting to know what A, B, and C would be. Delta would be D. So yeah, those are the big fights, and in the end, Felicity, saves the day. And this is a Felicity episode. How did we feel about, Felicity? And it's great. We start, Oliver and Felicity's having dinner, and there's the woman who was basically the Felicity fan people who are like, "Oh, I'm so glad you guys are back together." And then Felicity gets a text, and she's like, "I got to go do the whole team thing." And this is practically her episode. What do we think about that?
It is. And until about the last 5 minutes of this episode, I went, oh, filler episode. This doesn't really have much to do with the overall arc of things, until we get the very end piece where Caden James is like, well, yeah, I basically tricked her into hacking this so I could get into it. And they're getting on a plane or meeting someone on a plane. And it sets up a bunch of future events. So I went from going filler episode, that it is what it is, it's popcorn entertainment, to, oh, they actually tied this into the overall plot. And I'm a bit more intrigued again.
So the whole restaurant theme scene thing, that was interesting, because I had the kind of moment where, okay, that old lady is every fan out there, at least the pro Felicity fans, right? And then she's in there, oh, you guys are together. But if you had seen the Legends of Tomorrow episode earlier in the week, Zari's statement just came to me of, so these two things have some sort of weird on again, off again thing that I don't know what's going on with them. And I just applied it to Oliver and Felicity in this particular case. I was like, oh, it's too bad Zari wasn't on this show this week. I would have loved to have heard her explanation of everybody here.
True. And what's interesting is how, we finally have the fallout from her role in freeing Caden. Last season, she was working with Helix in order to help find Prometheus, who ended up being Adrian Chase. And, last season it was just a guy in a hood, and we just heard a name. And then now we actually have a face, and that face belongs to Michael Emerson. And I really thought it was when he looks at her and says, it's nice to finally meet your acquaintance and such. What do we think about him?
Michael Emerson? This is the role for him in this show. Absolutely. I'm glad they cast him for this, because it might be a little typecasting, but he does it so well. And in Person of Interest, he was a good guy. He's the bad guy now. And it's so great seeing him in either role, because he can flip back and forth between either role. And I hope they find something else to do with him in his next role, but I'm going to enjoy him in this role just because I love Person of Interest so much. And Michael Emerson just has that whole tech thing down pat. He was saying, oh, no, but I didn't want my fingerprints over bringing down the firewall. I wanted Felicity's fingerprints on that, which might come back later, by the way. She might be fingered as the person that brought down the internet because of
tried to bring down the internet.
Well, no, Caden said he uploaded that code in there. So he's got some code on the servers after Felicity brought down the firewall.
But I don't think his intent is to take out the internet with that. I think that was the threat to be able to make her give him the access. He's got some other plan for whatever that code is he uploaded there. I really doubt it's as simple as, I'll destroy the internet! And then evil villain mustache twirling and stuff.
You've practiced that quite a bit, haven't you?
Every morning when I get up and go to work, because I have to be the bad guy there.
Mental note, don't work for Chris.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, one of the other things that I called is that he's the one that saved Black Siren. And what get me was that Caden told her, we just need to take these people out. You don't need to kill them. And she's all like, well, better to have a dead body than somebody to question. She is stone cold evil. And I am enjoying it. I am in the camp of let's keep her evil to be evil and to not do a redemption arc. I kind of get tired of, here's a antagonist, here's a villain. Oh, let's, there's this one little thing, good thing. So let's put him on this arc and let's put this person on an arc. I want her to just be evil. And I loved how evil she was in this episode.
Yeah, I don't think she's on the path to redemption. I mean, who was it? It's like, it's not your Dinah. Someone always said, or not your Laurel. There's always something to that effect that sort of gets referenced in each episode. Wishful thinking is, oh, she can be just like the Laurel we lost. No, she's absolutely nothing like her. She's a criminal from another Earth who really has no qualms about killing people. She's sonic screaming in people's ears and destroying their brains, basically. Come on. You're not coming back from that. It's not like someone's like, you've got to do this or I'm going to be mad at you. No, she's doing it because she's in a partnership, remember, with Caden James?
It's a democracy.
It is.
That was interesting to note that it's a tri-headed democracy between the three of them. And I wonder how much of that is really true and how much of that is just pandering from Caden James's standpoint to keep the other two invested until he gets everything that he needs out of them.
How do we... This is what's interesting because I called that he was the fact that he was the one in the helicopter to save her. Why do you think Caden James went to Leon Yu to begin with? Like, what do we think prompted him to go?
That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure he had his surveillance on all these individuals and knew that something big was happening on Leon Yu and was just kind of late to need there. Probably didn't want to be there while everybody was there, but wanted to clean up the ashes of the events that occurred, not knowing that it was going to get bombed. Maybe he did. Maybe he put two and two together with all the explosives that were being shipped to the island. I don't know. But he was trying to pick up somebody, whether it was Talia, whether it was Lance, I don't know. But he was there to pick up somebody, and she was available and knew he could manipulate her. So
right, and you have to think also, they made a point of Felicity's been important to Helix. She's friends with the hacktivists that helped free Caden James and things like that. So it's not unreasonable to think that Caden wasn't watching Felicity because A, she's partially responsible for his escape, and B, she was a big time player in Helix before she was thrown out. So it's entirely possible that through his observation of her to see what he could use her for in the future, he kind of just stumbled upon holy crap, I can make use of this situation that the Green Arrow has happened upon. And let's be honest, he probably knows everyone's identities. It'll be interesting.
The one question I have about it, though, is that I was pretty sure she was dead. And does he have some ability to bring her back to life? Or
No, he said you would have either starved or bled out. She was just shot.
Yeah, she was,
like I said,
grievously wounded.
Shot.
So the whole pickup, so she was shot and bleeding out, but the whole her actually doing a sit-up and reaching up to him, that is throwing me off because that tells me she did not have an abdominal wound. but obviously she did. So I guess it was just a poor shot that they depicted of her getting rescued.
Do we think he picked up anyone else? Because we still do not know what happened to Artemis, Nyssa, or Talia.
Malcolm.
I hope
Malcolm's
so.
supposed to be dead.
I want Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm was on the helicopter. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Supposed to be dead. Did we see a body? No, we did not.
Okay. Do we think? Let's just take a moment and say, I still think Artemis is dead. But what about Nyssa and Talia? Alive, dead?
They're both alive.
Yeah, I think they're alive. I just don't know that we'll see them anytime soon.
Artemis, I think I don't know. If Ragman comes back, I think it would be an interesting storyline with Ragman and Artemis. Either he brings her back and she has gone through redemption, or it's Ragman versus Artemis, basically. So I don't know. We'll see. She could be out of the picture. They could bring her back. Either way, at this point, I really don't care because she was just annoying last year.
True. Finally, Felicity has an idea for the startup that her and Terrific are going to do. And we're finally bringing back the spinal implant that sometimes seems to like go away. I mean, we had it last season with the EMP, taking it out and everything. But now they're going to actually try to build something from it. That'll go great, right?
I mean, it makes sense that be what they target. That being said, isn't proprietary Palmer Tech technology that's in there?
Does Palmer Tech even exist anymore? And who owns the rights to Palmer Tech now?
That's fair.
I don't know.
I mean, but let's go. There's all these patent trolls and stuff that are out there. We see it all the time in various technology arenas, sometimes podcasting things and things like that. You think someone hasn't bought up those patents if Palmer Tech faded away? We're going to get into some legalese and some patent law in Arrow now. I'm stoked.
It's trade negotiations.
Do you really think the Arrow's writer's room is going to go in and write in patent trolls into? No, I did. Every time they've gone corporate, they have wanted to run away as fast as they can. The only reason they brought in the corporate was from the money aspect, from the queens, and from the technology aspect. That's not an issue anymore because they can always go to Central City and get some Cisco action. So I think they're fine.
I like to go get Cisco action.
Yeah. Little vibe action, huh, baby?
Yeah, little vibe action. Okay. What do we think of Oliver and Felicity together? We've been avoiding this. I keep saying that this is where the show is going to go. I am right, because it really seems as though this is not going to be a will they or won't they. It seems like this is going to be it.
I was editing the podcast and I was reviewing what we said about it. And I think we're just stuck in a mode that we're going to see this because this might be the last season. I mean, it might not. As we were talking about earlier, the CW app might be bringing in a lot more listeners and, more importantly, money to the show than we know about. Or not listeners, but watchers. But I think they have to prepare for the fact that this is the last season. So where do they want Oliver Queen to be in the end? They could care less about Felicity. It's where they want Oliver Queen to be. And everybody else falls into line after that. And if Oliver is meant to be happily ever after with somebody, it's going to be with Felicity at this point in time. So we're just going to see this going. Now, how do I feel about it? I think that they still can have chemistry on the set, but they got to get over these big things and these trust issues. And we're right back into the trust issues thing. So we'll see what happens.
We get it. It is what it is. We knew it was coming. So let's just go with it and hope that the characters have grown up enough that they can successfully have a relationship and not implode on each other and ruin the show again. Because I think that's where part of my butthurtedness comes from, for lack of a better term, is that the will they won't they that finally became they did. That's what started to bring the show down, was the relationship drama, and then the oh, you didn't tell me about your son that you've only known about for like 3 weeks and blah 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 blah. So
yeah. I have an issue with that. We've talked about it before. I don't think Felicity should have made it such a big deal about that, but she did.
Right. That she made a big deal about you don't trust me, yet throughout all of it, nobody ever trusts each other all the time. And that's been one of the current threads. So all those feelings notwithstanding, it is what it is. We get Olicity. They want Oliver to be in a relationship and things like that. That's fine. Just do it better this time. Don't make me hate both characters coming out the end of the relationship.
I think they will. It seems like the trust issues have been basically resolved. So I'm fine with it. SP, do you have any last thoughts about the episode?
Yeah, actually, just tailing on what was just said, by the way, I know that the ladies over on The Flash don't have an issue with it because they think Oliver Queen is fine. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go watch this week's episode.
Chris?
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. When they showed the teaser for next week, I went, yes, because this is what I've been waiting for. So once I saw that, all thoughts on this episode were like, this is a builder to Slade, builder to Slade, builder to Slade.
That is exactly true.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, this comes at the highlight of the investigations. Really bad timing. So if last week didn't get him caught, this week is going to.
SP, that matters little to me because Manu Bennett is back as Slade Wilson.
That is true.
Everything else is secondary.
Just so you know, Manu Bennett called Oliver Queen. He did not call Chris. He doesn't need you. He needs Oliver.
I'm there for moral support, damn it.
Yes. As we keep discussing, at the end of the episode, Oliver gets a phone call, and it is from Slade Wilson. And next week, we get the episode Deathstroke Returns. It will air Thursday, November 9th. Slade returns and asks Oliver for help tracking down his son. The rescue mission gets complicated by a terrible revelation that could shatter Slade's hopes of reunion. Directed by Joel Novoa and writers Ben Skolowaski and Spiro Skenzos.
Sounds good to me. He seems to be a new writer because I don't remember seeing his names before.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah, seems to be new, but
all right, looking forward to that. In the meantime, let's get on to some news. Live from the Starling Tribune news desk on floor 52 in Earth 2, we have some news stories related to the CW/DC universe, starting with Arrow. Chris, you have a great story about Rick Gonzalez.
Yeah, so let's go back a couple weeks where we talked about the fact that the creator of Wild Dog wasn't too thrilled with the costume change. Well, Rick Gonzalez weighed in on it in an interview with Yahoo's entertainment section. He said, quote, "I did hear that Terry Beatty, the original creator of Wild Dog in the comic books, wasn't too happy about the costume upgrade. And I totally get it. It can feel like we're not keeping the integrity of Wild Dog the same, especially by changing his look. But on a practical level, Gonzalez says working with a new outfit has its challenges. Oh, it's definitely harder. I need 2 other people to help me get into it and strap everything on." So the simple costume goes away. They make it more difficult and more heavy and cumbersome. So the actor's like, well, it might look cool. It's more of a pain in the butt to wear.
I wonder what's more difficult, Wild Dog putting on his costume or Curtis getting his hair braided.
Well, he's not braiding it anymore, though.
Well, I know, but theoretically, I wonder what's more difficult.
it's like I'm surprised this team gets anything done. I mean, like does Mr. Terrific and Dinah like help Wild Dog into his outfit, and then is like Felicity doing Curtis's hair at the same time? I mean, you know, and like who's helping who's Diggle, you know,
it's all
coordinating this effort.
Now. It's all T-Spheres. They do everything.
Maybe suiting up just takes forever.
And in a co-ed environment, right? So all the costumes are there. There's no other locker rooms. There's no bathrooms in the Arrow Cave that we see. So they're all changing right in front of each other. They got to be in order to get it done as quick as they do. So just keep that in mind. Just how exactly do these costume changes happen? All right, moving on after that little visual. Michelle, in the general DC news, we have some Constantine news.
Yes, Constantine is going to be on 2 episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, and there's a scene being teased. Mark Guggenheim shared an early look. It's Ray Palmer and John Constantine. Constantine's got the the trench coat on, the cigarette, and I just cannot wait for these episodes because I just love me some John Constantine.
right, we know that for sure. And yeah, it'll be good seeing him on. Now, Chris, another person that we love seeing on the DC shows is Wentworth Miller. Have we seen the last of him?
So it's starting to sound like we might have seen the last of Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold. Remember, he was a regular in season 1 of Legends, showed up at the tail end of season 2, and we heard he was returning for season 3. So if you follow Wentworth Miller on Instagram, you might have seen a note that read, "Currently shooting some of my final episodes as Captain Cold / Leonard Snart on the CW's Legends Tomorrow and The Flash. Grateful, now and in advance, to a pair of talented casts and hardworking crews. Thank you. I've had a tremendous time playing this character. It's been an opportunity, education, and an effing blast. With love and respect, Wentworth Miller." So it makes it sound like, Captain Cold might not be returning after his next run on Legends / Flash. And I'm kind of bummed out because I really do enjoy the character, but at the same time, he's not a necessary thing to have in the show anymore. If that makes sense.
We're seeing a few exits of main cast members from the DC CW universe, including Victor Garber. We know that he's going to be leaving the Legends of Tomorrow, and Wentworth Miller is great. Now, his interaction with Dominic Purcell is just legendary between Prison Break and these shows. And matter of fact, even Mick Rory, Dominic Purcell, had that whole scene of Prison Break, I'm in, this past week. So that was pretty fun for him to say on Legends of Tomorrow. Can you tell I've actually caught up to the shows? Yeah, I've caught up to the shows this week. So seeing Wentworth Miller one last time is great, but we are bringing in a bunch of new characters in all these shows. So as long as you can replace the characters with characters that are either great actors or characters that we've known to come and love over the course of the last year or two, I think is a good thing if they can continue that replacement cycle, because this is a lot of wear and tear on, if this was real, this is a lot of wear and tear on individuals, on team members. Think of the military. People come and go on a yearly basis in the military. And that's kind of what we're dealing with these teams. Yes, you have like SEAL Team 6 and they're all tight knit, but they're only together for a few years before people start moving on. They get promoted, they get hurt, that sort of thing. Yeah, the same things happens with superhero teams. So it's good to have had Wentworth Miller around. I want him around more, but I just don't think we're going to get him.
But the nice thing we have is the benefit of a time travel show is they can always do a guest spot again in the future, which is assuming they don't kill the character off. Even if they do kill the character off like they have in the show once, time travel makes it possible to bring anyone back.
I hope we see the Captain Cold I hope he's the one from like that alternate Earth for the crossover, and he's always been the hero.
Citizen Cold.
Yeah.
I think my favorite time travel bring a character back episode was yesterday's Enterprise with Tasha Yar.
Oh, that was so well done.
That was one of the best ways to bring somebody back that I've ever seen. Maybe it's sci-fi, so I'm gravitating towards that in particular, but I don't see anything in these shows to be as on par with that, but it could be, I don't know. But that's just an example of something that's well done to bring a character back. All right, is that it for the news this week? So yes, it is, and we've got some feedback, don't we, Michelle?
Yes, I live tweet during the show, and one of the things I said was, look at Ollie giving advice again 2 weeks in a row. Is he like Obi-Wan Queen now? And Dawn Loria replied and said, Obi-Wan Queen, oh my stars, with the gif of Obi-Wan, the prequel Obi-Wan sitting and shaking his head. And then at Kim Merville replied with a pic of a bearded Ollie in the suit, like I think it's from that Legends episode, and it just kind of looks a little bit like it could have been like, Obi-Wan in the suit, and everything. I'm not good at Photoshop, or would have tried to have done Stephen Amell in like the Obi-Wan garb, but I'm not talented that way. But it was fun having like that interaction of, people kind of, getting in on the joke and stuff like that. But he did that again. He gave last week the advice to John Diggle, and this week he gave like the little thing with Felicity. So
That's a blast. I'm glad people are having fun with this whole thing because that's all this is at this point. It's just good, clean fun. Talking about good, clean fun, Chris, we actually have a lot of that as being part of a podcast network, the GonnaGeek.com podcast network.
That's right, SP. The Starling Tribune is in fact part of the Gonna Geek Network. There's over 20 shows in the network covering a variety of topics, some like the Starling Tribune, where we discuss the show Arrow and the Arrowverse. Then you've got other things to talk about general geek culture or go in-depth on specific things. And each week we try to give you a little taste of something else in the network to maybe have you go, ooh, I should go check that out. So you guys have probably heard them played as part of our pre-show roles before. Let's talk about the Digital Soup podcast. We've got new episodes that come out every Tuesday. You'll find the Digital Soup at the intersection of tech, gaming, entertainment, and comedy. Join three longtime friends, Jason, Adam, and usually Dave, as they discuss everything from CPUs to celebrities, and maybe even the occasional quiz show. So that's the Digital Soup podcast that you can find over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And they're a fun one. Go check them out. I like the riddles they do.
Indeed, I like the riddles as well.
I'm not good at them.
If their own podcast is not enough for you, they do make a guest appearance on this week's to be recorded, not the one that's going to release right after we record this, but episode number 105 of Better Podcasting. So if you like them, make sure you check that one out as well.
Ooh, very well said. So a big thank you to everyone who did watch the show live. We had a pretty busy chat room and off and on throughout the show, so that is awesome. But also a giant thank you to anyone who downloads the podcast once we put it out on the feed or who watches the replays over on YouTube.
And remember, if you want to catch us live and get in the great Twitch chat that Chris has set up, you can catch us at www.geeks.live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Sundays. Sundays. That's when we record this. And we would love to have your talks. Like Tonga Gosa. He's always with us.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you could call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Well, great episode, guys. This wraps it up for another week. Any last words before we sign off? At Stargate Pioneer.
Hashtag Flying Arrow Bike.
At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag Internet Pipes.
And I am at Michelle Ely, signing off with hashtag Felicity Had a Plan. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.